So we should be live going right now. So welcome everyone to our channel. So this is going to be streamed on both Tony Vase's channel and my channel. So welcome, Tony. Uh, so today's going to be a very special episode. It's the first time doing a live episode today, and I really wanted to do this for the longest time because I want to learn a little bit about technical analysis and to see what Tony is doing as well. I've been watching your channel a lot, Tony. So, Tony, is it okay if you introduce yourself and let's get the show started?
Sure. Tony is a name. Everyone calls me Tone in the space. That's why I spell with an E. What's my background here? So I started out on Wall Street. Wasn't my first profession, but that's where I was for about 10 years prior to just quitting and doing this. My job on Wall Street did not actually involve trading. It involved risk analysis for like hedge funds and stuff like that. But trading has always been my passion. I learned technical analysis right out of college. I was kind of too broke, didn't have enough money to trade. Crypto wasn't there to trade with $100. You had to have minimum requirements. Ended up with a good Wall Street job. Always had that itch to be a full-time trader. Finally quit to be a full-time trader and thought this Bitcoin thing was just fun. And I was attending conferences and speaking and doing an interview here and there. Next thing you know, I become a content creator like yourself. And my specialty is trading, technical analysis, and teaching. I have a huge background in teaching and educating. My job on Wall Street involved, like most of my job was explaining to developers how to program financial products. So I have a pretty good experience in educating people. I think I have an amazing grasp of technical analysis. I've been a successful trader in the past. And now, I'm enjoying this educator / content creator lifestyle. I still have that itch to trade that I will eventually scratch when I get tired of doing YouTube videos, I guess.
Nice. So do you trade when you do YouTube videos? Because I watch it quite a bit. No, you don't trade. So you talk about trading.
Yes. Well, I do trade, right? So because this content creation is taking up more and more of my time, I end up trading less and less.
Yeah.
I have very proprietary trading strategies in the options world, which has become my specialty. So I still make option trades, but they're very, very specific, and I've narrowed it down to like my best ideas, and they only take place during earnings season. So I have about 2 weeks when I'm very, very busy trading, and then I have 3 months off. And then again,
Nice.
an intense 2 weeks of trading. And that takes place during 2 very specific weeks of earnings season. And that's when I do my trading. And I always found Bitcoin trading to be like, unless you're sitting in front of a computer 24/7 to watch this 24/7 market, it's not like you can't be doing YouTube videos and trading. I just don't think that works. At least for me, it doesn't.
It's
For
crazy.
some traders, I guess it does, but there's nobody like me. There's no active trader that spends 10 months out of the year traveling to every possible Bitcoin conference and evangelizing Bitcoin at the same time.
It's so hard. Like, I try. Like, people think I trade all the time, but honestly, I'm like spent most of my time trading content. And if you want to try editing your content, it's like even worse. So I totally
Right.
understand that, and it's crazy. Even if you have people to help you, I mean, trying to get people to help me, kind of even do a little bit of analysis, and it's just like impossible to get anything covered in this space. So, it's cool to hear that. So when is like, do you disclose when is your trading season? When is your like crunch down? Let's go and trade for 2 weeks season.
Basically the 2 weeks that have the most tech stocks reporting earnings.
Okay. Right.
So I just changed the calendar on my wall, so I actually don't know when it is. So probably the last 2 weeks of April will be my next intense trading season. And I'm on the road even then. Like I try to avoid going on the road. But April 19th, there is a big event in Toronto that I want to speak at, and I am speaking at. And then the following week, there is a big conference in Miami that I also want to speak at, and I'm going to speak at it. And I started doing trading educational seminars, like an entire Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., where I start off with the basics of what is a candlestick, and we end with kind of proprietary advanced stuff like Tom DeMark and then I give them some tips on what my strategies were when I was day trading. And those were profitable strategies, just that I don't want to do it anymore. And I give some hints on that and just talk about practices. I keep these seminars to a maximum of 30 people. I feel that I'm
Really, that's
not
quite
as
small.
effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's more than 30 people, it becomes a different kind of environment. Like I attended a Tony Robbins conference when I was in Singapore just to see what that is like. And I'm in a room with 15,000 people, and I'm like, this is ridiculous.
It's like chanting, right?
Exactly.
It's
But,
it's
but
just like listening to YouTube, I guess. But yeah, there is engagement, but I guess it's very different. And I guess if you're trading and you want to really learn something, a smaller group is definitely the better learning environment. So you do some teaching, you talk about trading, so and you try to engage. And I'm really glad that you're in this space because I do watch your show a bit as well. And
thank you.
I've always tried to balance between technical analysis and fundamental analysis. So this is where I feel like this big debate is going to go on because for me, I don't really trust technical analysis that much. This is because I'm kind of a little bit suspicious of what's going on in the cryptocurrency space, especially because we've seen things like Marcus Spot, or Willy Bot that was on Mt. Gox. There's all these fake signals that could be potentially sent out by exchanges. Are we really getting that accurate feed of information? So how do you feel this information? Like we knew that there were bots coming into Mt. Gox before. We knew that a lot of the signals might even be fake. Do you believe that's still happening today, or how do you think that's affecting the trading environment?
Maybe. I mean, the best comparison to the 2013 Mt. Gox would be the tether situation, right? So the accusation that they're printing tethers just to prop up the price of Bitcoin, to me, that sounded a lot like Willy Bot propping up the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And you know what? We don't know. I don't believe that. Here's the thing, right? Like from a technical perspective, I think that Willy Bot had a minor effect on the 2013 price rise. It had an effect. Now, where the effect took place is of Willy Bot was maybe contributing 10 to 15% of the physical price of the actual price rise. But because the price was rising, the FOMO was setting in. So you can perhaps blame the Willy Bot for causing the entire move, but mostly from a hype perspective. So again, like you can blame Tether to a degree. I mean, the real blame comes in, like if Tether is supporting the price, how much of it is people believing that Tether is supporting the price, buying into Bitcoin, thinking that there's a floor? Again, this is no different than the Federal Reserve. People are like, well, the Federal Reserve is going to support the stock market and all this other stuff, so you might as well buy into the stock market. So a lot of these bubbles and a lot of this up move in the price, and even like the scares to the downside, like a lot of it has to do with psychology. And you can blame, some kind of artificial propping of the price, but it causes more of a psychology change and gives people confidence to continue buying into the asset. And I think technical analysis captures this much better than a fundamental understanding, because the fundamental understanding will tell you this is a fake demand and you should be careful. I mean, gold bugs have been saying not to touch the stock market and only buy gold for a few decades now, and they continue to be wrong, right? So they can eventually be right, but like I always kind of make fun of Doug Casey. I go back to some of his statements from 1983 where he claimed that gold will imminently hit $2,000, and it still hasn't done it, and it's been 35 years. Like, at what point do you give up on the narrative?
Well, I think
Like he will probably die of old age before gold reaches his price target that he said will happen by 1985. And
yeah, it's
that's
not gonna
with
happen.
all the inflation that took place since 1985, right?
I think even with fundamental analysis, you got to be really dynamic and see what's changing in the psychology of people as well. I think it's important not to just like put yourself in a box. I think that's absolutely wrong to just like stick. I believe that yes, he's probably sticking to his own belief, right? He's sticking to go at $2,000, but a lot has changed in this world too. I mean, like if you talk about one of the most famous questions that people get asked about cryptocurrencies is Bitcoin a bubble? And then I think the best response was Antonius Antonopoulos' response, which is everything's a bubble. Stocks is a bubble. Gold is a bubble. We're essentially looking for things to invest in, right? So in that respect, I feel like it's probably the case where you probably want to combine a bit of both. But my biggest concern with technical analysis is there's the fake signals. If you get fake trade volume, if you get fake information like that, how can you trust it? But I do believe that with Bitcoin, because there is a bigger market, I think it's a little bit better than the altcoins. Sometimes with various altcoins, especially with the small market cap ones, you can just see them shoot up like 4,000% in a day. It's stupid.
Oh, did I lose you?
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me? Okay. Yep, you lost me. All right, so guys, we do have a little bit of a technical difficulty, but I hope you guys are enjoying this episode, and I'll try to get some answers and discussions with everyone here. Hey, Gare. Hey, Tone.
Hey, are we back? Was that me or was that you?
It's hard to say, but we're back, so we should be okay.
We're back.
We're back.
Very good.
All right, back.
All right.
Yeah, so I was saying that I'm not sure how much of that you got just now. Did you hear me?
Well, let me. Can I comment on like the fake signals, right? Because, well, it's funny that you mentioned fake volume, and I've recently been in a lot of arguments where I say volume doesn't matter, and a lot of the old school traders like don't understand why I say that, and exactly for that reason, because volume, you can't trust volume.
Yeah.
You also, I feel, have to be a specialist in volume. Now, of course, technical analysis will give you fake signals, but you just have to be right more than 50% of the time with technical analysis. Now, fundamental analysis, there's two types of fundamental analysis, right? There is general understanding of the market, and the general understanding of the market can get you into trouble because like my example of the gold bugs, right? They have an understanding that money is being printed forever, so the US dollar is supposed to collapse, but it's been 30 years or longer, 40 years since the gold, right? So you can continue to be wrong for multiple generations. Now, the other side of fundamental analysis is news. And when it comes to news events, again, you have to be first to the information, because if you're not first to the information, the technical analysis is just as good as the news events. The other side of fundamental analysis is knowing let's say insider information or known information ahead of time that helps you. And even that, you have to be a specialist. The best example that I give is, let's say you were told by a trusted friend that said, hey, Coinbase is going to fire their CEO on Monday. And you know this information on Saturday. What do you do with that information? Like, there's no such thing as insider trading, right? So you're welcome to trade on this information. But what do? Do you buy Bitcoin or do you sell it? It's a trick question.
Yeah. That is true.
You're thinking about the answer, because the answer is you don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it depends
you don't know. In general, right? Like
unless it was the Bitcoin Cash thing. Unless it was like Bitcoin Cash is being listed on Coinbase, because we had the whole controversy where employees knew that was going to happen. And, that was pretty obvious. Let's just buy fucking Bitcoin Cash, right? Like,
sure.
Like that was pretty clear, and, they're being freaking sued for that. So there are some clear cases where it is extremely important to, or if you have
of course.
Yeah.
Of course, like in those cases, like same thing happened with Monero, right? When some darknet website was gonna accept Monero, like a lot of the people that work at that company like bought up a bunch of Monero, and you can see that when you go back and look at the volume. But when it comes to other news events, same thing with the stock, right? Like if you know a public company's CEO is going to be fired, do you buy or sell the stock? And the answer is you don't know, because you don't know how the crowd and how the news is going to spin the news. You have no idea if that's going to be spun in a positive way. Oh my God, this company finally did something right. Or you don't know if it's going to be spun in a negative way, saying, oh my God, this company doesn't know what it's doing. Like if the CEO of Coinbase was to be fired, it depends who's going to replace him. but I would be like happy as hell saying this is the greatest thing for Bitcoin we've had in a year, right?
It is true.
So it really depends. And what happens is, and then you have a lot of other news that factor into fundamental analysis that's just unpredictable. And you don't know. And it's 50% of the time it's going to help you, and 50% of the time it's going to hurt you. So if a fundamental news event does go against a technical signal, this is why you got to have proper risk management and you got to quickly exit the trade, because the other 50% of the time, that news is going to boost your position in the right direction. This is why if you stick to technicals and any 50-50 event, you just adjust accordingly once it happens, over the long term, you could capture significant returns beating the market.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a combination of both, but especially in crypto, one thing that I love and hate about technical analysis is the way people use it, especially in social media. Like usually just in front of a pump, people are like, yeah, here's the signals for technical analysis. So I think one thing that's really differentiating for people is good technical analysis from just bad technical analysis, because you can draw like crap anywhere, especially with altcoins. You can just draw crap and then just send that signal out, and people are like, oh my god, technical analysis, we should all buy, and it just becomes like a piece of propaganda. So that's kind of what I'm wary about. I think it cannot be applied for Bitcoin more than any other coin, because Bitcoin has more trade volume. But with the lower cap coins, the market cap coins, I think it just doesn't apply at all.
It applied, like technical analysis applies best to the most liquid assets, right? So the more liquid your asset, the better it applies. I think it applies fairly well to things like Ethereum and Litecoin, though they don't do much. Like I've thrown my style of technical analysis on all kinds of crazy altcoins,
Yeah.
and it's interesting how some of the patterns are. I really like the DeMark counts and my alteration to it, and like some of the pumps, it's like my metrics have called call those perfectly. But the thing is, I don't look at them in real time. So usually, like someone was like, hey, can you take a look at Ripple after it already, has peaked and gone down? I open it up on my chart, my code automatically generates those DeMark counts, and I'm like, oh, you should have sold at the top. It was right there. but if you're not looking at it in real time, you don't know. Like you can't look at every chart.
So it becomes a case where you did pick it up, but then it became hindsight news because, well, you got more information, right? It was like a little bit lagging behind. So if you were trading,
no, it's only right. It's only lagging behind because you're looking at it behind, right? Like if you're looking at it in real time, it could help you. But when these things pump so much, like you can like, oh my god, I got a short Ripple, and you're off by 24 hours and you're broke because of the 24 hours, right? Because it spiked up in the last 24 hours. I actually blew up one of my very first trading portfolios. Like I lost so much money between I would say mid 2005 going into the second half of 2006 or into early 2007 because I kept trying to short real estate, and I missed it by 6 months. If I had a little more money, I would have made up for all those losses. Like I was shorting real estate as of mid to late 2005 because I thought it was ridiculous. Right. And I was just 6 months. I literally like ran out of money 6 months before the whole thing imploded.
Oh, that sucks. You can feel your pain.
I know.
And that's the thing. It's you just want to be better than 50%, and it's okay to admit that sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it works, right? Like that's the thing. You missed it by a little bit, and it got liquidated. Then you didn't have enough money for.
Yeah, because I kept buying puts, and they kept expiring worthless until I slowly ran out.
Oh, ouch!
Of money.
That's painful. That's painful. But
kind of sucked.
And so how about right now? So recently you moved more towards crypto. So before you were on Wall Street, you were teaching and you knew a lot of technical analysis, obviously. And then so now you moved on to Bitcoin. So what made you come to Bitcoin? And I will discuss a little bit about what we think of markets, etc. So what made you move to Bitcoin? What was the driving factor?
Well, I heard about Bitcoin in 2011, found it, intriguing. I Googled it for the first time in 2012, and everything that showed up was mining related. And, I'm working 10 hours a day. I'm commuting an hour back and forth to work. I was big into workouts. Like the moment I come home from work, I immediately change clothes. I'm either going to the gym or I'm going to play volleyball because I was still playing like Division A club teams. And when you Google Bitcoin in 2012 and everything that shows up is mining, I'm like, I remember saying almost out loud, I don't have time for this. I didn't do anything, right? And then in Q1 of 2013, with the Cyprus banking shutdown, were you already involved in Bitcoin then?
Exactly. So you said 2012, and that's when I got into Bitcoin mining. So I've been a
Exactly,
miner since
because well,
2012, and
that's the thing.
that
Like,
was
what
yeah.
were you doing at the time? What was your day job in 2012?
I was actually studying. I was actually going through a studying chemistry degree, actually. So full on science, and I was very interested
So
in
you had
gaming.
time,
I had nah, not really, but I was interested in gaming.
but you were a gamer, so you were
I
playing
was a
video
big gate,
games.
yeah, and I
So
was
you had time.
okay. All right, all right, all right. Busted. So I had a gaming rig set up. I was doing like a various I guess I'll just say it here. I was doing like Diablo 3, and we were botting and was trading Diablo 3 cryptocurrency. Not crypto, like that's digital currency. So Diablo 3 was sell armor and gear and stuff. But when in the off time, what's your computer doing, right? Your computer got like these gaming rigs, and what can you do with it? What can Bitcoin mine? So back in the day, it was like it was heaven. You're mining like zero point 0.3 Bitcoin a day. Like it's stupid to think about how much that's worth right now. If you want to like zero point 0.3 Bitcoin is like thousands of dollars right now. But that's how I got started, and I had like 3 rigs. I was in my hall. My room was freaking hot. If people don't know mining is hot. It is. It's
I know.
like
I have one rig running now.
it,
I have one
it's
ASIC.
exactly, and like a lot of people like I like this is the thing I'm gonna bitch about Electronium, because they're like, oh, this mobile miner or some shit, like they're trying to like teach people how mining works. That's not how mining works. Mining is hot. In the midst of summer, you're gonna like sweat like crazy, if especially if you're in a small dorm room. Like I have the air conditioning on, and I have my fucking mining rigs on, and just like
Well, why didn't you put the miner like against the window and have the window open so that the exhaust goes out the window?
I did, but I had 3 of them. I had 3 like large computers, and like even like you just can't position them in a perfect way. And I'll just remember, this is just the funniest thing, but I remember if my the person next door, she's a girl, and whenever she will use a hair dryer, we'll blow the fuse for our side of the room. Like our
That happens to me where I run my miner now. It runs like at my cabin and like the electricity is limited.
yeah,
So like during the winter I can run it 24/7 because there's nobody there.
yeah.
But during the summer it's like we gotta turn on a toaster, you gotta turn off the miner. I'm like, can you just eat the bread without the like that doesn't have to be hot. Well, like I had arguments with my family over toast.
Oh my
Because
god.
it's unreasonable how much energy a toaster takes up, and it will blow the fuse.
Exactly. So yeah, that's when I got in. So I got in relatively early, got a lot of bitcoins. I got scammed by Mt. Gox. I've been through quite a lot in this space. So I guess so I was there when you were there. You were like looking at mining stuff, but I was like, yeah, I'm into this. Like I'm setting up my
Right,
miners,
and I
training
and
them
I and
out.
I said, you know what? Like, I'm not doing this. But in 2013, with the Cyprus banking shutdown and the confiscation of that money, I'm like, all right, let me see what I can do here. And like Max Kaiser was going just nuts. I was watching his show back then more often, just not much time anymore. And I Googled it again, and now I found local Bitcoins. And from there, start meeting people at coffee shops and buying it with cash because I had the cash because I had a very high paying job. So I was able to, buy some Bitcoin then. So my first purchase was on the bubble to 250.
Oh, nice.
So like around that time, like around April, when we were hitting that bubble into 250, and then I watched the Bitcoins that I bought fall 70% in value. I held on to most of them though. I mean, I've been scammed too.
Yeah.
I've lost more than half my Bitcoin trying to play VC, which I shouldn't do. I need to stick to what I know.
It's a very different game, like VC and everything else. Oh, we got a connection issue again. So guys, hope you can hear
We're
me.
back.
Tony,
We're
are you
back.
still there? All right, we're back. All right, cool,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, so it's a little bit crazy, and I think this is kind of cool because we got kind of people asking about the current Bitcoin situation. So we've been through the crashes. You know, you've been through the crashes, I've been through the crashes. Like it's been much nastier than this, honestly, and we see much worse with the exchanges and etc. So now let's go to what we think about the current market because I think that's what everyone's waiting for. So what's your kind of take on the current market right now?
Well, I'm back to being bullish, and I think the current environment, I think we're looking good. I'm starting to get more and more confident that the $6,000 low is in on this downswing. Of course, I can always change my mind. Like what people have to realize when it comes to my work and other technical analysts, like I think that it's good not to take on positions in what you're analyzing because I don't get married to my position and I can change my mind. And at the moment, I do believe that the 6,000 low is here to stay. But that doesn't mean that tomorrow I won't change my mind. And you kind of end up in a situation that earlier in the year, I'm looking at the chart on my end, but basically,
Do you want to share your screen? I think we're trying to do that.
I don't think it's really necessary.
All right, cool.
But I guess I could. Yeah, I can share my screen.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Um,
Perfect. Yeah, and it worked perfectly on this as well. Excellent. Let me
all
see
right,
if I can make that a little bit bigger. Just give me a second. Let me try to figure this out. Because we can see it, but then it's tiny, so I'm gonna try to move it.
Right, I think you can set me to full screen. I wonder if you double click on my screen.
I think so.
Let
me see.
Yeah, if you just double click on my window.
Perfect. Yes, you're right.
Better.
Perfect. Nice.
I'm learning the system already.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so basically, around October, when we were pushing 6,000, I famously said, "Hey, I think 7,500 will be the high for the year." And
really?
From 7,500, we're gonna go down. And I called 7,500 pretty good. So in November, we start going down. I was expecting us to fall a little lower to around 5,000, and I expected us to turn up from there, from 5,000. But going into January, I still expected us to be below 7,500. And people to this day call me out for saying that I said the 7,500 will be the high for 2017, when in fact it was 20K. What people don't say is that once we went back above 7,500 in mid-November, I had already switched to being even more bullish, continuing to call for more bullish targets, right? But in order to know that, you have to watch my channel continuously.
Like, that's a great sales pitch tone for your channel.
You have to, right? Because you're a trader, right? Like sure, I expected it to be 7,500 for the year, but the first chance I had to update that upwards target, I did. So if you never went back to my channel to watch me tell you that, hey, you know what? Now that we're creeping back up to 7,500, now sky is the limit. If you don't hear me say that in real time, then 3 years later, you're going to continue to think that I was so wrong.
Right. That is the thing where you have to really stay up to date. Like crypto is 24 hours too, which makes it even worse.
And I do like 1 to 2 videos a day right now. Some people say, "Hey, you're making too many videos," but you have to, like, if you're gonna do that, right? And my point is, I try to educate people on how to trade. Like, I don't want anyone following my advice. I want people to understand why I expect it to go up and why I expect it to go down, and I expect people to learn similar strategies.
That's the way to do it. Teaching people how to fish is way better than just giving them a fish. You know, that's
right. And I do everything for free outside of my trading seminars, and you can attend those voluntarily. I don't charge any subscriptions. I don't have any chat group. Well, I do have a chat group for, clients and those that attend my seminars. But I make it clear that, hey, I don't do call signals. I'm trying to teach you how to think independently, because I remember what it's like trying to trade based on other people's advice. I remember what it's like to follow bloggers. I remember what it's like to sign up for subscription services, and they had all failed me. The one thing that didn't fail me is making my own decisions without external influence on buying and selling, because then I have no one to blame, and I try to make my own decisions, and that's what I try to teach others to do.
And I totally agree with that. Like, even with the stuff that we do, I always try to say, hey, you know what? Here's roughly what I know. Go research this. You know, this is gonna be like I wanted my channel to be kind of like Wikipedia. You know, like you start off and you kind of learn a bit, but then you want to move on and be really in depth, and that's what I kind of really agree with. So now moving on
Right.
to
Well,
this. Yeah.
to the current situation,
Yeah.
right? Right. So here's my current situation. So you see this green half circle, and then followed by a smaller green half circle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is known as a cup and handle pattern. So I can even Google it. Cup and handle.
Yeah, that's the
Now,
most
what?
famous and infamous one, right?
Well, I think I make it more infamous because I like it. It's something that I really like, and I make it a little more infamous than others use it. But the point is, I'm trying to find like a good picture, something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a big semicircle with a smaller semicircle, there is a high probability that once you break above this red line that you see in this picture, you will go up, and you even have a price target. The price target is approximately the depth of
Mm.
the fat part of the cup. Oh, here's a good picture, like this, right? Now they drew their arrow from this point. I kind of draw my arrow from that point. Maybe I should double check the rules of the cup and handle.
All right.
And here it is in action, though I would not have called that particular one a cup and handle. I prefer something like this. See,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the fat part, and there it is. And sometimes it even back tests to the breakout line. So that is exactly what I'm looking for right now on Bitcoin. We made
So
a
that's
cup, we have
exactly
a
what we're
handle.
seeing, Ashley. So this is a great time. That looks like a perfect example of a cup and
Exactly.
handle. All
Right.
right, guys.
And so now what am I looking for? Well, the fat part was about $5,000, because the flat part is in the vicinity of 11K, and we fell to about 6K. So that's approximately 5,000. So at this point, I'm looking for a $5,000 move in Bitcoin to reach the target. Now, it doesn't have to reach the target every time, but even if it makes, halfway there, it's still a statistically very good trade. If you enter it, in the last couple of days, you now have a pretty good chance that this thing is going to go at least a few $1,000s up, and then you can take your profit. And hopefully you will let some ride into that target. And there'll be other, patterns and signals along the way to hopefully it reaches this target. The last two times I had shapes. You see this big red triangle right here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you see this target right there in red?
Yep.
I called this target in real time when the price kept bouncing off of 13,000. I said that, hey, if we break this 13,000 to the downside, our target is going to be a $5,000 fall. As it was reaching its target, it made a smaller triangle also right here in red. And this triangle had its own target of the fat part of the triangle, which once again, it looks like I don't have it right now, but we can kind of tell, right? What's the range of this candle, the big red candle? The high of this candle is 13,600. The low of this candle is 10,000. So that's a $3,000 move on the fattest part of this triangle. So once it breaks to the downside, which took place on February 1st, you're looking for a $3,000 fall. And we fell from 10,000. If you go down 3K, that takes you down to 7. That's, you only had one day to get that low. So both of these triangles hit its target absolutely perfectly. And now I'm seeing similar patterns in the opposite direction.
Yeah. That actually looks pretty. It's kind of funny because like that actually looks like a perfect cup of handle right now, and we shall see. I mean, I've been seeing some really interesting stuff happening in real life as well. That it's interesting, but so when you look at this, you never factor in real life, right? You never factor in stuff that you see that's going on, but you mostly just factor in this information, right? The technical analysis.
I factor it in to a degree, right? Like I factor in the big things. The more I see the elimination of cash, the more confident I am in Bitcoin survival.
Mm-hmm.
If I start seeing, Trump announcing that taxes are going to be low, drugs are going to be legal, we're going to relax on money laundering laws, let's make money your property, you can spend money in any way that you like, that would scare me as a Bitcoin holder. I'm like, well, if the government is not going to, you know, arrest me for spending money in the way I want to spend it, not the way they allow me to spend it, that like neuters a huge property of Bitcoin because as censorship resistant value transfer. If there's no censorship resistance on value transfer, Bitcoin's biggest use case is kind of gone.
Yeah, it is. But that's never going to happen. So,
Well, that's my assumption as well, but right, which is why
especially in
which is
China,
why I'm a
if you
Bitcoin
factor in
beginner.
the China factor as well, I mean, yeah, sure, the U.S. is big, but you see China walking the complete other way. You're seeing them, let's censor more, right? That's what China's doing these few years. In fact, that's why they're kind of hitting on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency so hard, is that they kind of don't want to be censorship resistant. So
I agree.
so that's a huge different factor. Like we see,
Well, actually, with China, like it depends on your time scale, right? Like, let's censor more, but in the last 15 years, China is let's censor less and a lot less, right? So it
uh,
really depends on
see
your
that
time horizon, right?
this not really, right? Not really, because you see
Well,
fundamental
China isn't.
shifts.
Well,
Um,
wait a minute, wait a minute. Like 20 years ago, China was communist as hell,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yes, yeah, yeah. So
the
20 years ago, China was communist as hell, and they started opening up, right? They started building
right.
up these free trade zones. Shenzhen, right next to us, is one of those free trade zones where the philosophy was like, okay, we don't care what cat catches the mouse, we don't care if it's a black cat or a white cat, whatever catches the mouse works. That was kind of Deng Xiaoping's philosophy. So China started opening up. They started these small cities. They started opening up. But last few 3 years, we see a very different fundamental shift. You saw that VPD, the Great Firewall, was almost to a point that was going to go down. There was a point where hotels and stuff they were allowed to browse overseas. You're allowed to check out Facebook and you're allowed to bypass a Great Firewall. But now in a few recent years, like last 2 years, you see that's being clamped down really hard. The hit on the VPN and the fact that Xi Jinping is allowed to keep on term for 2 years as well. Xi Dada is a huge thing as well. So there's these fundamental shifts that you see, like kind of these tremblings where they might feel like they got things handled, like they opened enough and now they want to close it up a little bit more. So that is gonna be something that I'm very watchful of. That's gonna happen next. What is the next extended term for Xi Jinping gonna mean, and also what's gonna like are they fundamentally shifting back up again? Because you're kind of relying on old news, right? You're relying on what happened 15 years ago, the track record of that. But the latest these two
Right. Well,
years
no,
is
no,
changing a lot.
I agree. I agree. And if they go back to censoring too much, their economy is probably going to take a big hit, and then maybe a new regime will come in that's going to open it up again, right? Like these things go back and forth. And to me, right now, I mean, all this censorship on money actually helps Bitcoin.
Yes, it
Now,
does. Ironically, it
now,
does.
if right, it does to a degree, right? Because if the U.S. government and the European government have a joint conference saying that anyone that is caught using Bitcoin can go to jail for 10 years. Is that good or for Bitcoin or bad? I think that's going to be more bad, right? Because then even people like me
Yeah.
are going to say, shit, maybe I should go back to Wall Street because I don't want to take that chance. Like some people want to be rebels and go to prison for 20 years. I don't. I kind of, because there's other ways for me to make money and enjoy my life without a boss, right? Even if I don't go to Wall Street, I can find something else to do at this point. I can be an entrepreneur. I have the confidence to remain an entrepreneur. So I'll do something else, right? So, and people are like, "Oh, you're not like a true rebel." I'm like, "No, I'm not a true rebel. Like I'll use Bitcoin to a degree, but I'm not going to jail for you people."
Well, we can magically have Bitcoin somewhere, right? Who knows if you're using Bitcoin or not, right? That's technically something that could potentially happen.
Well, again, right? Like if it's kind of like, well, who knows if you're using drugs? But if you end up buying or in a transaction with an undercover agent, you're screwed, right? So like, it's just not worth the chance.
Definitely. So we go to this point where that's kind of what's happening in China. So, I mean, China made the news last year where they banned ICOs. And then they went to ban exchanges.
I like that. I was cheering that move. I got a lot of crap for that.
Yeah, and that hit us quite hard. But when the FUD passed, we came back up, right? But now this year is going to be quite interesting. And this is why I'm really keeping a close eye on China, because initially people thought, China banning Bitcoin and China's out, but it's not the case, right? Then so they went to say, yeah, let's ban the exchanges. Well, fiat to crypto has been banned, but then the exchanges pop back up again, right? You see Huobi, you see OKCoin, OKX, and they're popping back up again. They're doing fiat Bitcoin, crypto to crypto, and we see Binance, of course. They're probably the most famous one, right? They've gone international now. So China
that's because like I think the news gets translated terribly. Like I don't think we here in the West have any idea what was actually going on and what was or wasn't banned.
No. And that's what I try to cover with this channel as well. So we cover a lot of the China FUD because I have friends in China. Like I said, I have Lola. We have I speak Mandarin as well, which obviously helps, and I can read Chinese WeChat as well. So I kind of know what's happening. And this year, it's going to be very interesting because we see this two-front dynamic. One is that China hates crypto. They hate cryptocurrency. So they're going as far to ban the usage of cryptocurrency exchanges overseas. And that's why you see Binance all of a sudden putting up these special notices. Yeah, we ban Chinese people from using this, and they're trying to crack down on VPN usage as well. So we see China doing that front, but we also see that China's opening up to blockchain as well. So I think there's going to be a really cool dynamic playing out this year because there's so many people, going back to what you said before, there's so many people who are looking for their own way of using money, right? That whilst that's very much enjoyed in the States, in China, it's not so much. China, there's still a limitation. Like there's still more government limitations how you use your money. And that's why people are very into cryptocurrencies over there. And that's why mining is still very big over there. Mining hasn't died in China. Where I'm moderating a talk today with Peter, and we're gonna talk about how he's still running one of these mines. And I feel like the people still very want this technology because right now in China everything's more closed off, so they're more wanting to a decentralized store of value, which is really important for them. So I really feel like that news and this information is really important in this space because there's a lot of people that are dying to just bring money out of China to buy crypto right now. That's kind of what I'm seeing over here. So I know Tony, did you freeze? You're okay?
No. I'm here. I'm waiting for a question there. Like I agree with you. I mean, I don't really have any more comments on the China situation. But look, I'm still confident in Bitcoin's future. If I wasn't, I wouldn't keep a bunch.
That's true.
I wouldn't keep my money in Bitcoin. It's not too much money, but it's money in Bitcoin. I like it there. I still believe that Bitcoin is going to go up. But I don't have that view for altcoins, and not sure how much more time we have, but we can talk generally about.
Let's talk about altcoins. Let's do it. This is gonna be the great debate of the century because altcoins. I think you and I have a very different view on altcoins. So you're more of a Bitcoin guy, right?
Well, not more. Like
understatement of the century. I think I watched your channel once and you called everything BitConnect. So why do you hate altcoins, or why do you not like altcoins?
Okay, so let me make my position clear. So basically, I have no problem with traders, right? I have no problem with traders, right? If you are trading these altcoins to make money, whether your goal is to have more dollars, whether you believe in Bitcoin, it's actually irrelevant to me whether you believe in any crypto. Is if you are just if you admit that you're a trader of altcoins or ICOs or an investor in ICOs, if you're trading them to make yourself more wealthy, that's perfectly fine. It's no different than a penny stock trader trying to become wealthy. And if you ask a penny stock trader, do you actually believe in any of these penny stock companies that are worth, zero point 0.1 or like 3 cents a share? The answer is always going to be, I have no idea what this company even does. Okay. So if you have that kind of outlook on altcoins, I have zero problem with you. I actually respect you if you're able to make money from that. My problem shows up is when people try to convince other people that altcoin X is going to take over Bitcoin and it's the greatest thing in the world. Because at that point, my view is this: either that person is a scammer and is a liar, or that person is pretty much delusional. And I don't know which one is worse, right? Like if someone privately says, oh yeah, I pump up Dash because I want to sell my Dash bag to the next greatest fool, I can almost respect that, but he can't say that publicly, otherwise people are going to give him hell. So, but a lot of people do that, right? So when people, how about you give me an altcoin and I'll talk about it specifically, because my view is that Monero and Litecoin, they're not really scams to me. They're more like terrible long-term investments.
Charlie Lee said Litecoin's the biggest scam. I mean, just quote it on.
I know, but that's just people are gonna stop listening to anyway. Like if your altcoin has a leader, you may have a problem, right? Like it's and every altcoin has a leader, right? But let just throw an altcoin at me and we'll and I'll give you my position on it.
I think just I stick back a bit as well, because I've been through this argument so many times. And Bitcoin is meant to be the most decentralized one. It's meant to be. All right. So, but at the same time, I think one thing that Jimmy, just to show Jimmy here, I want to really show Jimmy, because Jimmy's trying to get more people educated on how to learn how to program for Bitcoin, because that's one thing that must be done in the future. Education and getting programmers onto this is important, because if there's no programmers, you're going to end up with a leader. So yes, Bitcoin, Satoshi's gone. We don't have technically a leader other than, well, people can say Core is a leader. But Core is open to the public, and in that case, we need more programmers to do it. So I'm going to show Jimmy's stuff here. He's trying to promote more people getting on and doing more. But it is true that altcoins have a leader, but altcoins, I feel like this year they have a very different purpose from Bitcoin. I think that's one thing to be really. I think it's important. I totally agree that altcoins shouldn't be comparing themselves with Bitcoin. So what's your view on Ethereum? Let's start with Ethereum.
Sure. My view on Ethereum. I think that so Ethereum was the first really successful ICO.
Yeah.
Do we agree there?
Yes, of course.
Okay. And so I have 4 problems with Ethereum. My one of them was part of my crypto scam episode. I haven't done the rest yet, right? So I have a 4-fold problem with Ethereum. One of them is regulatory. And that was what the podcast was all about. So I sit down with a securities lawyer and we explain why the pre-sale of the Ethereum token that did not yet exist was the sale of an unlicensed, unregistered security. And just like myself, this he's a defense lawyer, actually. He's a defense lawyer in the security space. And even he believes that the founders of Ethereum will or should potentially be arrested. Now, he will defend them because if they hire him, because that's his job. I actually wouldn't want him defending them, because God forbid he can get them off. But I never participated in any Ethereum pre-sale, because to me from day one, it was an unlicensed, unregistered security. So I have always felt that the SEC can show up at any moment and arrest anyone whose name was on the original, founders or even developers list because they took their payment in this unlicensed, unregistered security that they sold to the public, right? So they basically sold a token that did not even exist under the promise that they were going to launch it a year later, and everyone was buying it with the expectation of it going up in value. So there was a huge regulatory issue there. Bitcoin didn't have this because remember, Bitcoin with the Genesis block, there was no person that was pre-selling it, that was like creating the token itself. Now, 72 million tokens of Ethereum were created out of thin air a year before these tokens even existed. So even today, that represents about an 85% of all the tokens that were created out of thin air. Now, about 10 or 15% of those were distributed to the founders and co-founders and early developers, and the rest were pre-sold to the public. So my first problem with Ethereum is regulatory, because there are people to arrest in the creation of Ethereum.
But we've seen the SEC hearing, and they seem to be quite protective about most cryptocurrencies. They were discussing that, at the same time, you have to realize Ethereum needs Ethereum to work, right? You can't have Ethereum with
right. Okay, that brings me to the second point. That brings me to the second point, right? Ethereum needs the Ethereum token to work because it's a overcomplicated Rube Goldberg machine, right? In reality, a smart contract is an automatically self-executing contract, and mandating to use application token is no different than Netflix forcing you to pay for your Netflix subscription with Netflix stock, right?
No.
In reality,
but that's actually different. So we have two arguments, right? One is regulatory, which I don't believe, because obviously with the SEC hearing, they kind of recognize that you can't have cryptocurrencies without. You can't have blockchain.
But is Ethereum a currency? But is Ethereum
okay. Let's not even go there, because that's gonna be another minefield. This is gonna be the best discussion ever. But let's bring it down. So regulatory standpoint, we've seen that SEC was cracking down on DAO, but they pretty much avoided the Ethereum question. All right. So far from what we've seen is that everyone's avoiding Ethereum to be an ICO. It just seemed to be the case right now. Like if you look at all the talks, they were not targeting. They're targeting more of the current ICOs than Ethereum. But yes, Ethereum went through an ICO phase. They sold tokens, but I don't see a issue with that. They must. They kind of get funding somehow, right? So I don't see a problem with that. But the thing with Ethereum is that going back to the idea of decentralization was solved because, you rewarded the honest players, right? The non-Byzantine players off a network. So you must reward the miners. You must have miners, or you must have nodes somehow, right? So the idea is that you still have to have cryptocurrency for it to function. And then at the same time, selling some out isn't a big problem. I don't see that as an issue. So from a regulatory standpoint, maybe I guess maybe 10 years it'll be more clear.
I mean, we've moved on from the regulatory.
Okay, let's move on from the regulatory.
Let's move on. We're done with the regulatory point. Now we're on to the conceptual problem of you also mentioned decentralization, right? Mm-hmm. And you need so there's. Okay, so the application token. Okay, here, let me ask you one more question. Okay, hold on a second. Are you familiar with Tezos and what happened in that disaster?
Yes.
How is Tezos, the only difference between Tezos and Ethereum is that Ethereum actually launched and Tezos didn't. However, that's the only difference. It's the only difference, right? Because that year, when Ethereum was building its token for launch, there was absolutely nothing there that did not allow it to also be Tezos, because these guys took money from unqualified investors and they could have just walked away with it. There was no regulatory structure there.
Yeah, maybe. Tezos is something I felt was very unnecessary in that space. I just felt like
well, it's the same thing as Ethereum, right? Tezos was trying to recreate Ethereum. In fact, I think Tezos actually did it right. They walked away with the money instead of building a giant nightmare. Like,
How is Ethereum a giant nightmare? It changed a lot for crypto actually. So
it did.
um
It built a house of cards of ICOs, right?
yeah, but
Okay,
but
but
that
let's get back
but
to the
that's also
let's get back
changing
to the
how
application.
financing works for it. It's changing how venture capitalism works right now. So it's completely changing the whole scene. And in Silicon Valley, people are like, okay, what are our options now? It's like the invention of Kickstarter. Like that is huge. Like it's like
Let,
crowdfunding.
let,
Okay, I know you totally disagree with that,
okay,
but
let's talk about yeah. Let's talk about the application. Okay, there's two ways I want to take this. Damn. So I believe that smart contracts do not need to be decentralized. You will disagree, and I think that would be a good debate.
that's actually a really interesting question because smart contracts can be decentralized or not decentralized.
So I know, yeah, right. They can't. But like Ethereum's whole value proposition is that the world needs decentralized smart contracts, not smart contracts, decentralized smart contracts. Now, for me, decentralization is a gross technological inefficiency. I actually tried using Tor today. I hate using Tor. It's like the slowest, worst
It's horrible.
browser
Yeah,
ever.
it's not. It's
It's
not.
absolutely horrible, right? But there are some things that I feel like looking up that I want no record of. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's rare, but it happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I need to do that, I'm forced to use the most inefficient browser the world has ever seen. At the moment, Bitcoin, not at the moment, but a few weeks ago or a few months ago, Bitcoin was the most annoying form of payment the world has ever seen. It was
Correct.
taking like two
Absolutely
days to
correct.
confirm a transaction. Hmm?
Yeah, absolutely correct. I totally agree with you there.
Right.
It's,
And it was
it's
costing like $100, right?
yeah.
So basically in general, and before that, music downloading, if you're gonna, pirate videos or music, you have to use well, BitTorrent is actually somewhat efficient, but before BitTorrent came out, it was absolutely horrible. So decentralization is a complicated, gross technological inefficiency, and you only use it when you absolutely have to use it in general. Decentralization does not make anything efficient. What it does is it allows you to get around censorship resistance. The situation with smart contracts or contracts in general is that there isn't all that much censorship in your contract unless you're doing some kind of a contract with an entity that you probably should not be doing business with, let's say North Korea, for example, right? So, in general, there's very little censorship in your contract. So, making smart contracts decentralized to recalculate that contract forever and ever and ever with even with mining or proof of stake, it doesn't matter, right? It's completely unnecessary unless we're talking about contracts that are actually being censored. Now, when it comes to value transfer and Bitcoin, almost every payment we make is in a way censored, but not when it comes to contracts. In fact, 95, 99% of the time, you want your contract not decentralized and not even encrypted because you may have to dispute this contract.
Well, I think going back to a few points, I think you made some really good points here because I mean, I don't want to touch upon the public blockchain versus private blockchain, but the idea is that public blockchains, they're much more transparent by being more decentralized, and you're talking about issues of efficiency, but I believe that efficiency can improve in time. So it's just that like having that extra security there, right? Why would you trust a kind of a non-decentralized platform for smart contracts? It just makes no sense because you
because you
can
because you can because you can encrypt the contents of that contract,
you can, but
right? Also, like, why wouldn't you trust Google to execute your smart contract? And I know what people say that's crazy, and but do
but
you
your
use
only
Google
argument
for
here
your?
of not using a decentralized system is about efficiency, right? I mean, efficiency is being worked on quite quickly. I mean, yes, I agree that decentralization, having that decentralization there is less efficient. But with what we're seeing with Ethereum and the developments there, just for an example, it seems to be going pretty well. I mean, would you rather
Well,
have
how do you?
like
But
let's
what's
say
your
this. Let's just
definition of
say
well?
let's say if there's a good ERC20 token, we're gonna disagree on that. But let's just say ERC20 tokens. Like, would you rather them living with Google or with a decentralized Ethereum? I would choose Ethereum any day. See, that's the problem.
I would choose Google.
You would choose
I would
Google.
Choose, of course. I mean, I trust Google with my life. I use their
Why
GPS,
would you trust Google
right?
with your
It
life?
hasn't driven
Google,
me into a wall.
but by supporting Google, you're building up this giant monster. Like Google, like they're a company. They're at the end of the day, like yes, their model is do no evil, but can you really trust them not to do evil?
I can trust them to fix a bug, right? I mean, have you tried downloading the entire Ethereum blockchain? You won't be able to.
No, no.
It's actually impossible at this point. You can't. It's literally impossible. Like the Ethereum blockchain is growing at a rate faster than you can download it.
But that's what sharding is coming in, right? That's why they have like Plasma.
Is it coming in?
Yeah, like they're trying to. Like they're a bunch of like that's why Ethereum I feel like has a chance because they have like the smartest young minds on this. Like and we're gonna totally like I love this debate.
We totally disagree because I don't think they have the smartest young minds. I think they have the most delusional young minds that think that they're smart and able to program. It's amazing like how many very senior developers think Vitalik is not a genius developer. They actually think he's totally nuts and is not a good developer at all.
I've heard that argument before as well, but then again he's running Ethereum, so. Who's to agree or disagree, right? Right. A lot of senior developers for sure. Like we had Charles Hoskinson come over. He doesn't trust everything, but at the same time, he has to acknowledge the fact that Vitalik did build something out of it. He did admit if it was him, he would have taken 5 more years to build Ethereum. That's the length it takes. But I feel like I definitely wouldn't trust like ERC tokens or any tokens on Google. It just doesn't make sense, especially if you look at what happened to Facebook. The way they changed their algorithm, and even on YouTube, even like, would you really trust Google with your ERC20 tokens? Would you think that there's like without an Ethereum platform?
Wait, but that's the thing, right? Like, do you think that every single person deserves the ability to print their own money or security? Because that's the world you seem to believe in, that you should have your own money that you can print at will, and as long as you are able to get other people to use that money, you should be able to print as much of it as you like.
But it's not money. It's not. It's tokens. You have tokens for a project, right? It's a product. So do I believe I can make a video game? I make video games before. We have an economy in video games. I mean, I manage economies in video games. I mean, we made a MMO game and we have gold. We have various different currencies inside. Those are digital currencies too. They're not money. Are they money? No, they're not. Right? They're only valid in that particular video game.
Because that's the thing, right? It's actually it depends. Like if World of Warcraft currency actually makes it to the real world and not the virtual world, and it starts being used as money, the global regulators are going to have something to say about that.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can never allow it's going to be a hard point because in video games it goes in the idea, like going back to the World of Warcraft example, money, the economy of World of Warcraft is managed by the game designers. And I do game design, and I know,
and because of that, it's probably like they're not like trusted enough to export it outside because those game designers can immediately say, "Hey, we're gonna reset this thing."
Yeah, and they have a very hard time. I like the idea is that game designers, they want to make the game new and interesting. That's why the economy, they go through planned phases of inflation, and they try to have sinks where the money can go in and stuff. And the economics of this is extremely hard. But I would never regard World of Warcraft gold as a real currency. I wouldn't say this is you're creating your own currency, but I'll definitely say that game designers should be able to create their own economy. It's freaking fun. You're creating a lot of value in that system.
Basically, here's how I see ICOs in general. Mm-hmm. To me, if a company is ICOing, that means they have an idea and no one wants to give them money for that idea because VCs probably think it's totally stupid. And if VCs were to give money for that idea, they would demand something back in return. And why on earth would someone want to give up something to a VC when they can ask a bunch of unqualified investors for money that will give it to them? Now, the only difference between an unqualified investor and a qualified investor in reality is how rich they are. If you're rich, you're a qualified investor. If you're not rich, you're an unqualified investor. It's very, very the most layman's difference between a qualified and an unqualified investor. Now, the reason why no one cares if rich people are giving money to companies is because if they lose that money, they're not financially hurt. Now, people don't seem to realize that, right? People think that the rich only get richer by giving their money to VCs. In reality, that's not true at all. In reality, the rich lose way more money on investing in speculative startups than they make money from investing in speculative startups. So this idea that people are throwing out there that the little guy should have the ability to invest in early stage projects is totally ridiculous. It's basically the complete opposite of what's happening. In addition, when you take in money from an unqualified investor, you're giving them nothing back in return other than the speculation of them reselling that token. And if something goes bad with your project, you have a bunch of unqualified investors, none of whom have the capital resources nor the connections to go after you legally, which is another big difference between a qualified investor and an unqualified investor. Because if you take, $500,000 from a guy that is $10 million rich, he's got a pretty damn good lawyer to go and find you and go after you. When you take in your $500,000 from a bunch of people that each gave you $500, none of those people have the ability to do anything to you when you decide to run away with that money.
Right, but this argument goes, you're just saying, okay, just because right now this new thing doesn't work as perfectly, it's like when we move from horses to cars, right? You're just saying, okay, just because the car is very fast, we should stop using cars. I mean, that's what I feel like that the argument goes down to. Yes, I feel like there's a lot of issues with people, especially people who don't have a lot of money.
No, okay. No, I'm sorry. So this is the common argument that I have. See, you are comparing the actual potential of the product. What I'm saying is, for the last 2,000 years or longer of human existence, everyone has always been on a mission to get money from other people for their ideas. So this has absolutely nothing to do with the product itself. This has to do with who are you able to solicit money from for your idea. And our current financial regulation, whether you like it or hate it, the reason why the current financial regulation exists the way it is basically it got shaped over time because everyone has always wanted to use other people's money for their idea. So this has nothing to do with the idea itself. It has to do with how do you get the money to fund your idea. If you're going to pay for your own idea, nobody cares. If you're going to borrow this money from your friends and family, nobody cares. But when you start soliciting money from the general public, you now have to follow the general laws that were shaped by thousands of years of court cases on who you can and can't
in a way that's
from.
true, but have Kickstarter is something that was quite interesting, right? Because Kickstarter, you're soliciting the general public, it's crowdfunding, and Kickstarter, yes, I agree, it's not as popular as it is today, but at the same time it really brought a lot of innovation as well. A lot of things got funded. Even my freaking backpack was funded on Kickstarter. It was something that can break the mold of what was kind of being dominated by a few major industries. If those guys making those backpacks, if they didn't manage to get that kind of social proof and the funding to make that product would never have been delivered. So yeah, so there are definitely examples.
And they are legally allowed to source in money to build their backpacks. But notice that nothing on Kickstarter returns a digital token that then gets traded by 12-year-olds. Right? Like, I'm not saying only 12-year-olds trade it, but I'm saying that 12-year-olds are able to trade it and pump it and dump it in chat groups. And once that ERC20 token makes it to any exchange, it's complete wild, wild west. And the reason why people buy into any ICO is to then sell these tokens for a profit. They couldn't care less about the product, other than a few diehard believers assuming they're not faking it in order to sell that pre-sale token.
I think there's genuine innovation. I mean, that's why I got into the space. Like I said, I'm a big gamer, and I think the gaming, I actually talk to the gaming guys, and I feel like there's room for blockchain in this space.
All right, so let me ask you this question. So, which ICOs or altcoins, but preferably ICOs, which ICOs are you holding for the long term?
Well, I'm holding Engine Coin, I'm holding VeChain, I'm holding Binance. I can pull up a list. That's 3 right there.
And you're holding them for the Binance? Binance is its own token?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Why? Well, no, I didn't. Why do they have? Isn't Binance an exchange?
Yeah. You didn't know Binance had a token?
Oh, this is great. So Binance is an exchange, right?
Yeah.
How does an exchange make money?
By trades.
By taking a fee from the trades, right?
Theoretically.
Well, they're taking a fee, right? I mean,
one of the ways that Binance makes money is that it takes money from the trades. Yes.
Correct, right? They take a fee, right? Unless, well, the Binance actually doesn't have to take a fee, right? Because they can make enough money on the token that they can offer free trading, right?
In its current state, but not when it first launched.
Okay, so Binance is making money on the trades, right? So what is the point of the Binance token?
They needed funding.
What is its function?
Okay. Do you want? Okay.
No, that's fine. That's a reasonable answer, right? So yeah. Binance needed funding.
Yeah.
To launch their platform.
Yeah.
And Binance actually has a way to make revenue, right? Yeah. They can make revenue by charging a fee per trade.
Yep. Correct.
So how is the Binance token not a security of the company like an IPO?
That's something you gotta ask CZ. They try to that is a good question. Like, it comes to the regulatory standpoint. Like, I totally agree with you there that there needs to be regulation, and we see regulatory tokens. I mean, I've seen Polymath as well. They're trying to tackle the idea of building a framework for regulatory even trading. You have tokens that cannot be traded to a non-KYC user, right? So that's what I'm saying. That's why I gave the analogy of the cars. Yes, right. There's two ways to look at it. Because we're not part of Binance. Because I'm not part of Binance, I can say, yeah, Binance, they have a burn as well. They even have a token burn, and there are aspects of that
what is a token burn?
They burn a portion of their profits in terms of tokens per quarter.
Why?
Because magic, right?
I mean, you're a long-term investor in this token, right? Like, like why? Again, right? Like, if I am a long-term investor in Amazon stock, there's a reason for that, because I think Amazon stock will be the biggest company the world has ever seen, right? Like, if I'm a long-term investor in Tesla, I believe that Tesla will deliver on electric cars and maybe take people to Mars, right?
Yeah.
If I'm a long-term holder of Twitter, not sure why I would be, but I believe, like, actually, if I was a long-term holder of Twitter, you know what my reason for that would be? I would say I think Trump's gonna buy the company when he leaves office, right? And then I'm gonna get my big payday, right? Because it'll probably jump like 50% in price. But like, if you're a long-term holder of a token, you got to give me a reason why. Because other than that, your reason is, I think I can sell this thing and make money, right? But if you're a long-term, like, I'm a long-term holder of Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin is going to be a future currency. But as a long-term holder of Binance, because it's not a publicly public company, because they don't have to disclose anything, you should have even more information about the inner workings of this token than me holding Amazon, right? Like I hold Amazon. I don't worry about Amazon internals. The reason why I don't worry about Amazon internals is because they're a public company and there's enough hedge funds and other financial institutions that are looking at Amazon's internals. And I trust them to, if there's something, if for example, all of a sudden the world is not going to discover that there's more or less Amazon stock because they lied about how much stock they issued. But when it comes to a token like Binance, you need to have even more information on what the hell is going on under the hood, because you just said it's a long-term investment, right? Because you believe in that company. So to me, because that token is really not necessary for anything other than they wanted, the creators of that company wanted to get rich without any regulation, without any obligations to their shareholders. All they did was sell it to a bunch of unqualified investors, and they owe them nothing. And the more people trade this token, it can go up in value, but it serves absolutely no function, but it does serve a giant regulatory risk on the entire company.
I think that's a good argument. Okay, so we'll break this down into a few things, right? So first of all, they made a product. So I think it's quite important to stress that there was a deliverable, which is an exchange, and the exchange got very popular. So this is one of the things that I first covered. When I first talked about Binance, it was nothing. They had like few exchanges listed, and suddenly now it's like the god exchange. So
well, of course, because they printed an unlicensed, unregistered security, and they kept a bunch of it for themselves. And when people bought the security, it gave them this giant windfall that allowed them to hire the best developers the money can buy to build this platform.
That's a overly optimistic way of looking at it. I mean, that's let's think of it this way, right? I don't think everything happens like that.
No. I'm not gonna let you off the hook here. So, do you know how much Binance token the founders of Binance got for themselves? Like, I know how much the Ethereum founders got in Ethereum token that they printed for themselves. Okay, because I did the research, and I have a podcast about that. Right? Like Vitalik got 400,000 Ethereum tokens. The next level, like the next 3 or 4 co-founders got between 200 and 400,000, and then the next batch got between like 100 and 200, and then it trickled down from there, right? So do you know how much Binance token people like CZ and other founding members of Binance like kept for themselves?
Yeah, so you're talking about distribution, and I think there's one thing that I totally agree with you here, which is that having more people doing due diligence on a coin is good. I think that's actually important to really say that out front. One thing that you really said was that there were hedge funds looking at public companies, right? Public registered companies, and it helps with the situation. But I don't think, of course, it fixes the situation, because I don't really fully trust hedge funds or someone else. But it does help it. So I'll definitely agree with you on that aspect over there. And of course, even with token distribution, they can say whatever the fuck they want, right? Again, it goes back to the trust verify. So I do agree there's still a long way to go for this. And this is, yet again, it goes back to my analogy of the first car, right? We see that this is very dangerous. We see that it's very fast. But at the same time, it allowed us to create a really amazing product. So what's the point of stifling innovation here? Yet again, if people are willing, why not let them? They have the freedom to. You can do better KYC. The process can be improved, right? So that is, I think you're targeting on a few aspects. That's like, okay, the first car that was ever invented, it was just probably not safe. That's why you want you're like, okay, let's abandon the car. Let's go back to horses. Like that's what I feel like your argument is kind of about. You're like, okay, this is too dangerous. Let's not innovate.
No. Well, again, like you're bringing it back to the product. And now I'm bringing it to the solicitation of money for that product from unqualified investors. Because for every Binance, there is 3 that will not deliver a product and run away with the money. Yep. So how do you solve the problem?
You can't. You can't.
Okay. On the flip side, all of these tokens are on top of Ethereum, which I still believe, and
Mm-hmm.
many technical experts agree with me. They just don't want to go on camera for personal and political reasons. That Ethereum is technologically unstable. So when, not if,
I
Ethereum
think
goes belly
even the
up,
founders
what
agree with you,
happens to
right?
all of these
If you
DeFi
look at
projects?
Vlad actually said like a year ago, you know, like, Ethereum is an experimental project. I think he went on Twitter and he trolled, right? Vlad Zamfir. He's the guy who's designing proof of
No,
stake.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with Vlad. Yes,
Yeah,
I've
so
I've seen it.
he's like the public troll, right? He's a public troll. They're like most of the Ethereum founders will agree that Ethereum's unstable, right? And that's like the second biggest smart contract. That's the biggest smart contract coin out there, and they're like, yeah, this is unstable, and let alone everything else, right? So at this point,
Everyone is treating it like the internet that has been stable for
no,
25 years.
I think one thing that we have to be very clear is that is highly speculative, and I make no pretend that this is speculative. And I totally agree with you there. I think there is a group of people that think like Ethereum is now the most stable platform ever, and that is still in debate right now. It still has to prove itself, and this is the thing I've said with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has I think 7-year track record, almost 8 years right now, improving that it can work, and it has a very high uptime. Ethereum has not fully proven itself yet, and this goes to with all new coins out there, especially infrastructure coins.
And there's a big difference there, right? Like Bitcoin, there's a reason why Bitcoin isn't a smart contract platform supporting other tokens or other currencies or other securities or whatever people want to call it.
Yes and no.
Bitcoin is just
counterparty kind of works on Bitcoin. I mean, counterparty
yeah, but I
was
hate that one also.
yeah, but it works on Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is a smart contract platform too. You still have to remember that, right? At its very core,
Sure,
Bitcoin isn't. It's got script, right? It's got a very limited scripting language, but at the same time, we're using Lightning. Lightning is smart contracts. Would you not agree there? We're still using smart contracts.
I mean, Bitcoin itself is smart contracts, right? Between payments. And I'm okay with that, right? Like, again, the censorship part that needs to be, I mean, the part of a contract that needed to be decentralized was the payment method, not the terms of the contract. The term of the contract doesn't really need to be decentralized. Like, for example, Slockit that famously said that, hey, you need a smart lock in order to, for strangers to enter your house through a smart contract in your lock. And it's a good idea for every single person that has ever entered your house for the calculation, the mathematical calculation of them opening your lock needs to be stored forever and ever and ever and recalculated every 12 seconds with every Ethereum block. And the answer, and my question is why? Why is this technological complexity there?
Right. And you're probably the one that's wondering. Bitcoin has a scripting language. It has a various functionality there, and Vitalik's basically saying, yeah, why don't we extend that to be turning compatible, right? To be turning complete, actually, rather. So that's a correct term of it. So that's all Vitalik did, right? He's basically said, okay, there are limitations with Bitcoin script. Let's extend that. But
because Vitalik came to Bitcoin Core and said Bitcoin needs Turing completeness, and about 100 people smarter than Vitalik said you're an idiot, and he said I will go and build Ethereum.
Yeah, and it's proven itself, right? Like
it's exactly how we got Zcash. It's exactly how we got ZK Starks and Zcash too.
Yeah. There's a lot of innovation, even with Ethereum, and I think it really changed a lot. Like people didn't even at the early creation of Ethereum, they didn't understand what they were doing. But now they're slowly trying to understand that, and like it goes back to this whole point. Why stifle that innovation? Why say okay, Ethereum sucks? Why say we don't need smart contracts there? We're inventing something new. Yes, it's not gonna be the new internet. Like people are.
But it's back to we're not stifling innovation. It goes back to how are you financing your idea?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, again, no one is stopping you from innovating, but what you're going to realize is when this whole bubble pops, people are going to realize how dumb they were funding things they knew nothing about.
Well,
And Binance didn't innovate anything, right? Binance just had more money to hire better developers for their
I wouldn't
exchange
agree with that. I wouldn't
because
agree. I
they
wouldn't agree with that.
financed it through an
I,
unlicensed, unregistered security as opposed to getting their money from qualified investors. And what this is leading to is if the regulation doesn't put an end to this, every single person and every single company becomes incentivized to do the same. For example, if I am trying to fund my idea by current legal channels of qualified investors, and I am only able to score $100 or $200,000 and given up a bunch of equity to do that, and the guy, around the corner has the same exact idea as me, launches a token, and all of a sudden has $20 million for the same project that I do. I am incentivized to also go and create a token, even though I can potentially go to jail for creating a lifestyle registered security. But I cannot compete with him because he went out and did that.
right, right, and this goes to then we go back to the Kickstarter thing, all right? Kickstarter incentivized people to crowdfund and crowdsource new projects, right? And what they're
And they
creating
have
is
regulatory approval to do that, to solicit in small quantities
right.
for a product. But those people are told they're not investing in something they can then flip digitally for more money. There's a big difference there, right? Like when you fund something on Kickstarter, like a backpack or a cooler or a new kind of, I don't know, monitor or whatever it is, you're basically paying for the first release of that physical product. You're not buying into a digital token. It's a very different thing. Like the SEC and other regulation on trading, like none of that is involved. So like I don't understand how Kickstarter compares to an ERC20 token in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, so I think we kind of agree to disagree. I think there's gonna be a movement. I think this is not gonna be the like I definitely agree with you in the fact that this is not gonna be the way it's ever gonna go. And even if you look at Kickstarter, because I've been looking and even doing Kickstarter for a while, Kickstarter when it first started there were just too many scam projects on there, and we experienced it kind of the same thing. But people kind of grew and grew and grew and improved, right? So at the start when Kickstarter first started, there were projects that did not deliver. There were games that did not deliver as well, and we were talking about these cases where that was just a catastrophe. But there are products that do deliver. So it comes to a point where people get smarter over time, and this is something that I see in the cryptocurrency space as well. Yes, when we first start, it's love at first sight. There's just like way too much just delusion in the space. But as we slowly start delivering on products, and I really don't think that Binance succeeded just because they couldn't have the money to hire. They had the talent there, but they were not like I guess maybe they could have secured funds other ways. But by creating the Binance token, you also got people on your side. You got more supporters than there are, and there's still a roadmap for more things to come. Not just with a centralized exchange, but Binance wanted to move to a decentralized one. That's one of the first topics we want to talk about. So there was a purpose for anything like that. So what they want to do and what they want to make out of the token is up to them. But they're not trying to sell, say, a security per se, but they're trying to sell a token that's going to be used eventually more and more in the future. So that's kind of
Well,
like
right, because again, they're trying to get around the regulation because the token doesn't have to be used. They're trying to force it. That's no different than Ripple, which is a completely unnecessary token for anything Ripple does, but they have to force it into using
yeah.
something because they can't like eliminate this token.
Yeah, Ripple is a complete. Yeah, Ripple doesn't make sense. I don't understand what Ripple does, but
Well,
not
none of them
not.
do. I don't believe any application token makes sense because if application tokens made sense, we would all be paying for Amazon products with Amazon stock. Like an application token never makes sense unless it's pegged to the dollar. For example, a casino chip is an application token that makes sense, but it's internal to the casino itself and it's pegged to the currency of the region where the casino is. Like that's an application token that actually makes sense.
Um, I'm just trying to think if there's an example of something that makes goes up in value because yeah, your utility tokens are to me, okay, from my understanding, because I have a gaming background, to me it's just like World of Warcraft Gold. It's limited in that its usage is limited to the application, and it has a different economy. But I feel like you don't really need to be pegged. I mean, like say World of Warcraft Gold. If it was an application token, I mean, I'll be fine with it. Why not? It's fun. I derive my fun from it.
But it is an application. But
It's a utility token. It's a
but what's
utility
the
token
value,
for World
right?
of Warcraft.
What well, what's the unit of account out there? Like how do they measure, right? Like for example, how long have you been playing World of Warcraft?
A long, long time.
Okay, so what is the most common item that you spend World of Warcraft gold on?
Ooh, that's a great question. So this changes every expansion. Oops, I think tone just disappeared. This is one of the best debates I had. I think this is really cool. So just to fill up, so Tone is a very good technical analysis, I would say, and he has his own channel as well. So he's also a Bitcoin maximalist as well. So he believes that Bitcoin is the only true coin, and this is one of the best debates I've had because we never really had this debate on this channel before. So this is why I kind of wanted this episode here to kind of diversify everyone's thought. And I really believe that it's good to present an overall view. So, and this is why the debate is happening right now. But I don't know where Tone is. So let me just chase up on that and figure this out for you guys. So Rip Tone. So I'm just messaging him now, and we'll see. Yeah, but this is one of the best and biggest debates I've had on this channel. This is what makes me so excited because when you have a debate, you always learn from somehow. And okay, so here we go. Boom, we're back.
Hey man, we're back.
Yep, yep.
I mean, I had connectivity the whole time, so I have no idea what happened there.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's weird like that.
Okay, so I mean, just give me something. Like, give me a common item that you buy there.
So let's say gems. Okay, you need to slot up. You need to buy gems to put these gems into your weapon to make that weapon stronger.
Okay, is there a specific gem that is most common?
Yes, there. Obviously, no. How do you explain this? Gems go into rarities.
I'm looking for a unit of account. I'm looking for the McDonald's Big Mac, right? Like I'm looking for something that's stable in value, that doesn't fluctuate in value. You see where I'm going with this?
I see where you're going with this, but at the same time, you have to
realize.
Like,
I want to know how, like, even within World of Warcraft, how is that currency? How is the volatility of that currency on commonly purchased items over the years?
See, this is where it gets really messed up because in gaming, rare items and what's most valuable at the time changes every 3 months.
Well, which is why I'm not asking for rare items. I'm asking for common items.
Even common items, they get wrecked. There is no one common item, like unless you say even gold has massive inflation. So in gaming, it's always like take gaming as like a 6 month kind of like a rotation thing. There's never a common item that is ever holds value. Everything is extremely inflationary. But
in the game,
yeah, in the game,
right? So what's the currency supply there? Who controls the how do you earn money? And what is that money worth?
That's a good question. So World of Warcraft has let's say gold, right? So gold is meant to be the most stable unit of account there. But the problem
But there's
is
other currencies.
yes, there's other currencies. Because
And can you create your own currency?
no, you can't. But the game designers do. Right?
Okay, do you think World of Warcraft would be a better game if every single player was able to create their own currency?
No. But the
So why do you think it's better? So why do you think the real world is better when every single person can make their own currency?
Actually, let's go back to another point. Let's like go actually World of Warcraft, you do create your own currency. It's Dragon Kill Points, DKP. You create your own currency. Each guild has their own currency on who gets items.
No, but it's not like but it's not like but you're not creating it, right? Like you're earning something that's transferable to other people that can also have the same currency, right?
Right. So we used to run a guild, and we had our internal currency. It's like participation points.
In your own like group.
Yeah.
And does that transferred out?
It depends on what your guild policy is. I've seen members that trade DKP with each other with the allowance of the guild leader.
All right. Yeah, I think this conversation is getting way, way out there. Right. So last question: Do you think Ethereum is more like an application token, more like a currency, or more like a security? And the answer could be all of the above at the same time.
I mean, we had this great debate with Cardano's founder, Charles Hoskinson.
Yeah, Charles Hoskinson, right? So he's now on his third major project. Yeah. So he helped bring the amazing innovation of BitShares, and then he moved on to the amazing innovation of Ethereum, and now he's on to the amazing innovation of Cardano.
Yeah,
Cardano. All of them are going to go to zero, but by then he'll be on number 6.
Well, I think okay, so there's too many minefields here. There's too many questions that tossed up. But I think going back to this point where
what is Ethereum? And again, that's another point of contention that I have.
Right.
What is Ethereum? Like for every single person, for an Ethereum dev, it could be something for one Ethereum dev. Yeah. Ethereum is one thing. For another Ethereum dev,
and hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. So he separated.
It's a horrible dynamic.
Yeah, so he separated Cardano into 2 layers, right? So accounting layer and computational smart contract layer. So there's 2 layers on Cardano, and none of it's the computational layer is not built yet, but accounting layer is built so far. So the idea of Ethereum is that Ethereum has these 2 things fused together, which means it's gonna be different from every person, which is also scary. I totally agree if you're concerned about that, because yes, it's got a currency layer. It's got Ethereum, but it's also fused right into it is a computational layer, which is the layer that's running all those ERC20 tokens and everything else. So with the Ethereum VM. So yes, it gets very problematic for Ethereum because it's both a currency and a smart contract kind of virtual machine. So it's messed up right now, and I totally agree with you with the fact that it's messed up. But my kind of argument is that it won't be messed up in the future. That's
how do you know?
That's what we're trying to like. Okay, not okay. Then rephrase again. I'm speculating that they can fix it. So we'll put the keywords there. Yes, I believe it so much, but yes, it is my personal belief. I can't.
Do you want to throw some names out there? Which developers do you think will fix it?
Ooh.
I mean, I'm sure you'll mention Vitalik. I'm sure you'll mention Vlad Zamfir. Any other names come to mind? Because that's all I know.
Plasma is being built by the OMG team. Okay, so it's kind of weird.
Wait, Plasma is being built by OMG team?
They're building a version.
Aren't they like the Chinese competitor to Ethereum?
They're trying to. This is. If you watch the latest dev conference, a lot of the devs attended the Plasma kind of like, let's try to figure out what's happening here talk. So yes, it's kind of in the works right now. The blockchain within the blockchain, the thing that's meant to improve Ethereum's efficiency by creating multiple blockchains, right? So yeah, so the OMG team was very heavily involved, and they're trying to build, like, trying to work together on this, and it's messy. I felt from my listening in on their talk discussion that they're still trying to allocate work, who's going to work on what. So this is kind of like, I guess it's a working product. So I think, yeah, I feel like they have the knowledge and a capability to do so, but getting that cooperation done is, I don't know yet, something I'm not very certain of.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's cool to leave it there. We definitely disagree on many things, but I feel like for my channel, it's great to listen to someone there. Even when I first started cryptocurrency, I had a friend, Samson, Excellion, if you know that guy.
I'm very familiar with him.
He's also another big Bitcoin.
I think I have several hats within my arm's reach.
From the legendary hat maker himself, and sticker maker.
I think I have all of his hats. Every hat that he's made, I have. Going back to the Make Bitcoin Great Again.
Exactly.
I have them all. Did
you know Excellion is a game engine?
The what?
Excellion is a game engine.
I did not know that.
That's a tidbit of information for you. So he used to be, we used to actually hang out, and actually we still hang out, but we attended like the Tencent gaming conference together. He has a gaming company. Excellion was the game engine he was using. So I think he used that Twitter handle for himself, and then it became like his Bitcoin persona. So a little bit of tidbit of history. If you search up Excellion game engine, it actually makes sense. He makes video games, and that's one of the things there. And that's why video games designers like me, we have like a idea of how cryptocurrency. Our vision is very different from everyone else's. Like, because you have a Wall Street background and I have a gaming background, so it's very different. But going back to this idea is that my first point of entry into crypto is Bitcoin maximalism. So he's like, I talked to him about various coins, and he's like, that's a scam. I don't believe that. But we definitely have differing opinions, and I think it's good for this channel, especially my channel, to be exposed to both sides. So I definitely had one of the best conversations, and I'll say when you're gone, this is the best debate we've ever had in this, because we totally disagree on everything. But it's good. It's good to have different disagreements, and it's different for people to see that debate. So I feel like this is one of the most productive chat sessions ever. And
yeah, no, we can definitely do this again. Couple of months, maybe in a few months, we'll see how things develop. We'll see how the Binance token is doing. In fact, is it trading anywhere? I want to glance at the chart.
Yeah, it's on Binance. It's trading on Binance.
So their own token is trading. So their own exchange is trading their own token. Is it trading anywhere else?
I don't think so, actually. Let me check.
Excellent. This is beautiful.
You have new weapons now.
Who needs regulation? You create your own token. You're gonna trade it on your own. You created your own security. You're gonna trade that security on your own exchange. This is amazing.
Yeah, you got new weapons. You got a new weapon to fire at CZ with. It's also traded on Bank. Oh, actually, no, wait. That's Bankroll BNT. So yeah, it's a trade on your own exchange. Check it out. If you use Binance, you get a 50% discount on exchange things if you process your fees.
I'm sure you do. I mean, they're rolling in the dough when you create your own money. All right. Wait. What's the ticker? What's the ticker of the Binance?
BNB.
BNB.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't know this.
No, I have no idea. I recently learned that Cardano was what? A something? ACA or something?
ADA.
Whatever. Okay, so BNB USD, that didn't work. BNB BTC in cryptocurrency land, I don't see it.
BNB, are you on TradingView or are you on...
I'm on TradingView.
Are you on...
TradingView has Binance, so it should have it.
Just check CoinMarketCap for a Binance token.
I found it. Yes, BNB USDT, BNB BTC. I don't know why it didn't show up before. That's weird.
Don't know.
All right, and here it is. Okay, so
the infamous Binance coin. All right.
Yeah. So Wow, it's actually, oh, it's an hourly chart. Hold on, that doesn't make
Right.
sense. Let's go to daily. It's doing pretty well. Well, it was doing well.
Yeah.
It's about to just go down, but I can do screen share. That doesn't really matter. So right now, a Binance token is worth 9,000 satoshis.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Um, right. So basically, my homework for you, I guess, is to find out exactly how many Binance tokens they saved for themselves and the company. And then you would know exactly how much money they started with based on the launch price of that token. And the value of that token went up fairly quickly, like within the first month, the value of that token went from 400 satoshis all the way to, you know what? Let me do a screen share real quick.
Sure.
And so as you can see, the value of the token went fairly quick from the launch
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
This is daily candles. I like the fact how it started taking off soon after one of my nines with the green arrow, and it ended right on my nine with the red arrow. For those that believe that technical analysis is useless, but it definitely it definitely would have helped knowing this, and it went up to 7,000 satoshis fairly
Well,
quickly.
we have two arrows. We have two arrows, right? We have
Here as
yeah,
well.
here as well. So that
Correct.
was a false one. So we have 50-50 right now.
Correct. But the way I do technical analysis, it's not that it's a false one, it's a warning that you should take your profit.
Okay.
And at this point, you can safely or risk aversely go back in, capturing all this upside into the next nine, where you can once again take profit. And if this continued to go up, you can then go back in again 2 days later.
Yeah.
But this time, when you took your profit, you did very well.
It's okay. So one question flat out. So do you have a script that numbers these, right? So is that a
Yes.
publicly available one, or is that only proprietary to you?
This is proprietary to me
Okay.
because of the insane amount of work that took to build it. But there are similar scripts that are
Mm-hmm.
publicly available for
Mm-hmm.
free. They're just going to be inferior because I know how much work this thing takes. In fact, my latest update to the script has now been delayed for weeks because of the complexity that it has
Right. 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 Right.
and
Right.
all the testing that goes into it. Uh, but there are, less quality ones available for free from other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's pretty
But
cool. I mean, I saw these before. I'm like, wow, damn! Like this script must be really awesome because like, um, it seems pretty legit.
so again, I kind of like it because even when I was throwing it on, let's see here, low chart. Even when I was throwing it on obscure stuff like Tron, hope you
Mm-hmm.
don't own this thing.
No,
Like even on something like Tron, there it is,
that's pretty good.
which was pretty cool to see. And
But
this
you
is
see another
automatic.
arrow just at the five, right? You see the five. There's another arrow there just before the pump.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. Like the arrows that they place under the candles are
Okay.
not as they're not as effective as the ones that take place above the candles. But you have to understand what the script does, right?
Right. Right.
There's
Right.
multiple arrows
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
here, and this one got you out of the short trade. The
Mm-hmm.
arrow in the opposite direction. And even when I pull it up on something like, um, Zcash, again, here's the most recent one, off by a day. I'll take it. Um, and on the big pumps, you know, there it is. as well. So I mean, I think there's merit to technical analysis,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I always found it interesting how this guy called a lot of them. Um, XRP
Oh, those coins are horrible.
as well.
Oh shit, that's.
Um, I was. Oh wait, what did I just do? XRP, but the one I was looking for is on Bitmax. There's just too many of these things. Um, but yeah, but even if I do XRP on Kraken, I think on Bitmax it worked out much better, and that is the most liquid one. But yeah, on Bitmax Exchange, it also caught the perfect top daily. Though I don't see why it would be very different than this guy, or actually maybe I'm looking at the wrong top. Um, this thing pumped too many times to remember. But anyway, I'm getting off. Oh, there it is. That's the one I was looking for on Ripple.
Like the way I always envision, especially with coins like Tron, the pump comes from the guys who made it, right? The creators.
Usually,
Yeah, usually it comes like that. So my biggest worry with everything there is that maybe whatever they're doing in the backend will trigger those signals, but you're always at their mercy. That's why, like for these smaller market cap coins, I really don't trust TA. It's just because if they know that everyone else is looking for these signals, they can pump up fake signals.
oh, of course.
That's the biggest problem because especially for lower, it's like penny stocks, right? Why would you technical analyze penny stocks, right? Like that's pointless. So that's my two
I
cents.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But yeah, but we can pick this up again in a few months. We'll
Yeah.
see how Binance is doing. But then think of some other examples, and we can debate those. But again, like a debate over ICOs, like what I don't like about ICOs is different than what I don't like about altcoins.
Yeah.
They're completely different things, right? And then even within altcoins, there are altcoins that I will also like. I will debate why you should not hold your money in Monero very differently. Why you should not hold your money in, let's say, Ethereum or something else, right? Like I believe the only crypto that's worth holding for the long term is Bitcoin, and you can trade anything you like. You can trade horse manure for all I care, right? Like you can trade anything.
Hey man,
But
that definitely provides power, man. Just burn that shit. We got it. That's the future of energy is in
I,
horse manure.
um, and like I like if people tell me they're holding Monero for the long term, I will debate that very differently than if they tell me they're holding Dash for the long term, because I see Dash as a scam and I don't see Monero as a scam. Like I see Monero more like Overstock, and I'm like, okay, Overstock is there, but they're not going to compete with Amazon very well, right? Like I think the long term potential of Amazon is significantly better than the potential of Overstock, even though they're kind of the same company. They both sell you things over the internet, and the short
Yeah.
term speculative value of Overstock might be better because they're a smaller company. The market cap is easier to use. It's more volatile. But the long term prospects are probably better with Amazon. But Overstock is not a scam. This is kind of how I see Monero. Like the long-term success of Monero is significantly lower than the long-term success of Bitcoin, but at least it's not a scam, unlike Dash, which was pre-mined, and now it's mostly proof of stake for those that pre-mined.
It's gonna be the most interesting argument. We're gonna have the best we're gonna have the most lively conversations ever. And I think I think the thing is that okay, just going back, I just want to put in a few words. All right. So one thing is that Dash, the interesting thing about Dash is the community. So that was the most interesting aspect of Dash, the fact that they can build something different. Like they have a working DAO. That's probably like an example of a working DAO with you can give out coins for proposals and stuff. And I think that's something very interesting to explore. So in terms of privacy, I think Monero, they've got like more private transactions, and I love Fluffy Pony. So I think this is one of the best.
Everybody does.
Yeah, well, not everybody. Some people really hate him. Uh, yeah, but it goes to a point. Yes, it is very, very different topics, and people always get confused. And I think it's good that you are there to warn people that a lot of people think that crypto is crypto, but crypto is so diverse. And what you said is absolutely right. You have Bitcoin, then you have a lot of the altcoins and different coins out there. Then you have these ICO coins, and it just gets a huge mess. So everything is fucking different. So I think it's very important to. Are you good?
We're back.
All right, yeah. We're back. So I absolutely think that they're completely different and shouldn't be discussed together. Because a lot of people that come in, they're like, oh, boom, I want to make money, let's buy whatever, I don't care. And that's the worst mentality you can have in this space. Because like, you're gonna get totally wrecked by people who know how to work this. So I feel like definitely that the community is gonna grow, and there's a lot of maturation. If you looked at the society overall. In February, a lot of people care more about what the coin is doing, what they're more about research, and I think that's one of the best things out there for crypto right now. In terms of, like I see some of the worst arguments out there, like you see like Bitcoin it's obsolete and outdated, and I think that one of the best things that we had in this discussion was the realization that of course Bitcoin is Bitcoin. There's nothing else that has more proof of stake protecting it than Bitcoin, and it doesn't have the most decentralization. So, in terms of the meta, why this is a great topic, and this is why this is a great conversation for this channel, is because we can refocus them back and putting everything into perspective again. And I think this is the best thing we brought to at least my channel. Okay, I don't know about your channel, because your channel is more technical analysis based. For me, it's more about different coins, what the technology is trying to do, and I've got more experience in startups because I've done my own. I've done Kickstarter, I've done video games, and I looked at different virtual currencies very differently from you. So I think it was an amazing conversation in that perspective, and I think we definitely want to have this conversation more. But to summarize, one thing that's very important, I think, for my channel as well, is that this realization that Bitcoin still plays a pivotal role in everything. I think there's a lot of comments I see in my channel that's like, oh, Bitcoin sucks, it's like obsolete, it's not getting upgrades, it's going to be surpassed by Dash. But no, it's not, right? It's got the most hash power protecting it, it's got the most interesting dynamic. So hopefully we'll see what happens in the future, and I'd love to have this debate. We'll look at Binance, we'll look at altcoins next time, and hopefully we can bring something up that you really hate. So.
Oh, that shouldn't be hard to find.
Not at all.
All right, man. Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing, man. This is one of the best debates, like I said, that we had in a while. So yeah, thanks for agreeing. By the way, we've connected over Twitter.
No, I mean, no problem. Yeah, I'm definitely happy to do it again. Hey, thanks for I'm on your channel. Thanks for letting it stream on mine. We both got about 1,000 live viewers each, so that was pretty good.
That's great. And so Tony has your own channel, so I think you can just search Tone Vase.
You can just search Tone Vase. I have all my video podcasts are there. My website is libertylifetrail.com. I mentioned on my podcasts, and this will go into audio form. Like all of my podcasts, all my video podcasts get converted to audio, awesome. And those end up on the World Crypto Network audio podcast channel, which is on iTunes and everywhere else. So you can check that out if the audio of this on iTunes under World Crypto Network.
Awesome. And for me, I'm on Boxmining, so just search me Boxmining on YouTube. No.
Oh, and also Tone Vase on Twitter, and obviously you're Boxmining on Twitter.
Exactly. All right, guys. See you later. Stay safe. Don't trust anyone who's not the real Tone Vase or the real Boxmining. That's
yeah. You having that problem too?
Yeah, it's the worst. People are like,
God, it's bad.
Yeah, I don't know why it's happening. I mean, people should be mature enough not to feed these scammers and hackers. Oh well.
Oh, wait. One quick, very funny story.
Huh?
A fake tone vase came into a Telegram chat group of 4,000 people. And basically, somebody sent me a screenshot of a fake tone vase coming into a chat group of 4,000 crypto people. And it says, hey, I'm Tone Vase. I have, 50,000 YouTube followers, offering to like promote ICOs on the YouTube channel, right? So someone sent me the screenshot, right? So I go into this channel to warn 4,000 people of the fake Tone Vase trying to scam them. But the 4,000 people channel was some kind of a token ICO that had already pre-mined. So it was like an ICO. So when I came in there warning them about a Tone-based scammer, I realized what chat group I'm in. And then I started explaining to the 4,000 people in this chat group that they are all being scammed by this ICO token of the chat group that they're in. And I started getting to debates with the creators of this ICO, which were the admins of the YouTube chat, of the Telegram channel. And basically, the real Tone Vase was going to get kicked out before the fake Tone Vase that was trying to scam them. But I actually voluntarily left by telling them that they would prefer the fake Tone Vase in here because he fits so much better.
Obviously, they don't watch your channel. I mean, they should pay that fake Tone Vase. I don't know, man. I
gotta tell that story again on like the Bitcoin morning brief. It was absolutely hilarious.
Oh my god, it's so stupid. But there we go. That's life, guys. And
yep.
All right. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Smash up the like button. See you guys next time. I'm gonna stop.